Hi, everybody, and welcome to another video testimonial. I am always excited. I say this every time, but I am especially excited to showcase my client today. Her name is Lauren. I I wanted her to tell her story because I've known her for a long time, and then she came to me looking for some support, and we've gone really deep in the past 6 months. But Lauren, without further ado, why don't you tell a little bit about your background personally and professionally?
Sure. So thanks, Lauren. Appreciate the opportunity to both work with you, which has been really amazing, which we'll talk about, and also to do this interview. So I could hopefully help others decide that it's a great idea to work with you too. So my background professionally is that um, I went to school, I was an accounting major, CPA, joined the firm in our consulting practice and have been there ever since. So that's about a little over 15 years now. I've been in consulting. I did an executive MBA at Columbia through the firm, which, was an amazing experience, really opened up my eyes to a lot of different opportunities out in the world, a lot of different people, experiences. That was awesome opportunity the firm provided me. Um, and then just personally, I live in New York City with my husband and my son, who is just about 21 months old, and we are expecting our second here very shortly in February. So really excited about that.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. I love connecting with you for so many reasons, right? For someone who's been in a job for 15 years, the same, you're like a unicorn. But actually, when I speak to a lot in the profession, they're like, I've been here for a long time. And there's almost this like thought of like, well, I'm just doing this thing. I don't even know what else to do. So I just kind of put these blinders on.
hmm
And there's something about your story as your family, as your life has evolved. I can see like your need for finding purpose has kind of come to play.
Yeah,
So tell me what your experience was like when you first came to me. What was going on? What prompted the like, hey, let me find a coach?
sure. So, in those 15 years, I mean, you hit the nail on the head. Definitely had the like, put your head down, put the blinders on, like, go, go, go. Um, and over the years, many times I thought to myself, I don't know if I want to do this. I don't know if I want to make partner. I don't know if I want to keep going in this direction. Um, and questioned it a lot. And it was, up and down over the years. And some of it depended on what project I was on, who I was working with, or how hard I was working. Um, Definitely business school prompted this, big time for me. I saw a lot of people doing a lot of interesting things. And I thought, well, why not me? I made a couple decisions to stay at the firm for various reasons that made sense at the time. But the feeling never really left me. And then I had my first kid, and I went, and everybody's very supportive, but I went back to work, and things were really, really busy for somebody who had just returned from maternity leave, working till 11, 12 o'clock at night. I started to really question again, like, okay, like, is this really it, right? And is this the life that I want? And I was very resentful and negative about a lot of things at work. Um, and I said, something has to change here. Like, I keep talking about, do I want this? Do I not want this? And there's a part of me that does, and there's a part of me that wants something different. And and so I said, I have to start sort of working with a coach. I can't do this on my own. I've been trying to do this on my own for 15 years. Clearly, something is not working. Um, because I wanted to really have like satisfaction and more positivity in my day to day. And then, as I had a kid, like that feeling of like, I want to spend my time away from my child in a way that fills me up, or at least like teeters me this way versus this way, was really strong, right? And I have always wanted a career. I wasn't necessarily abandoning that notion, but I knew that something had to change both like in the way that I thought about work and what I was actually doing and what path I was on and how I felt about it. And then so I started working with you. And shortly thereafter, found out I was pregnant again, which was a huge blessing. But it really like lit the fire because I was like, I got to figure this out now because I'm about to go out on maternity leave again. I really need to figure out like what is the path that I want to be on. Um, and so that was really the focus that, it brought to our discussions and our work together.
I love it because we didn't even know about number two.
Not no,
I didn't even
when
start.
I reached out to you, I had no idea. It was just more of a, hey, like I'm at my breaking point here. Like I gotta change something. And like if you don't change something, things don't change. And so I said something has to change. And
Something's got to
there we were.
change. I love it. I love it. And it's interesting, right? Because all of a sudden, once you find out you're pregnant, there's a little bit of like a countdown clock,
For
and
sure.
there's levers at play. And so I know for you, there like the idea of promotion has been on the ticket or on the docket for a while.
A
And so
while.
how do we make sure that you position yourself? This was something that we talked about, but let's
Yeah.
love to hear your experience. Like as we were going through the process, what started to happen? Like what did you start to realize and learn?
Right. So in these 15 years, I've been on, partner, partner, partner. The firm has said to me, it's not a matter of if, it's just a matter of when. And I was like, yes, that makes sense. I've been doing this. I'm really good at it. Like everybody tells me I'm a partner. I'm going to go do that. But something was like not totally sitting right. And, you know, as with like most firms, there's a shift in the sort of like number of partner spots that are being made available, right? There's a very big shift in the pyramid structure happening at the PP partner principal, managing director, executive director level. And, you know, I had started to evaluate like, well, do like I'm going to go out on maternity leave again. It's going to be hard still again to like make partner in the next like year to 2 years because my numbers won't be as might not be as good. Um, there's other people in the pipeline. The numbers of spots is really low. Like, am I willing to risk after, being in the pipeline officially for 3 or 4 years, coming back from maternity and still not being up in a way that I'm going to like really make it? And so I said, okay, like, and I had been thinking about, do I go down the managing director, executive director path for some time? But my ego and like what others thought was like very prominent in the decision making around this before working with you. And I think what I realized through our work together is like I need to take control back of this situation. I want to get promoted. I want to be recognized for all the work that I've done and the capabilities that I have and expand my leadership capability at the next level. And the way to do that was to essentially say, hey guys, I want to make managing director and I want it to happen now, like this year, this cycle that's coming up. Because I'm not willing to risk, nobody here can guarantee me anything. And I knew in the back of my mind that I was going to be going out on maternity leave again. And I said, this is the way that I don't come back from my second maternity leave as a senior manager. Um, and I get to make more money, have more responsibility, have the growth opportunity that that role provides, and then really say, like, really take that experience and say, do I want to make partner from there or do I not? And being actually perfectly at peace with the fact that I might not want to make partner and that that's okay. Like that might, if I teach myself to like, and through the strategy I've learned working with you, like actually take advantage of not being a partner and being a managing director. Instead, I might actually find more balance in my life and take the pressure, like release the pressure valve a little bit from what the demands of partner are versus like what I would like to do for my family and for myself.
I love this. There's so many things here. I could like dissect all of them. But when people are listening to this, I feel like there's so many thoughts that can come up. Like you mentioned the ego, right? Like it's like we're told partner track is like the only thing and anything else is lesser than. Leaving
Right,
is lesser than. MD is lesser than. And so I love that you really sat back and was like, you know what? What matters to me? I still want to be recognized. I still want to be paid. I'm working the hours. Like I want
right,
recognition, but I want to guarantee my timeline. And with the levers, it's just like, okay, well, if I'm going out on leave in 8 months and my numbers are, like there's just so many factors that you're playing with. So you're like, okay, let me make a strategic
right.
decision And so like I talk about a five-step process often, but like even the way you talked about it was like awareness of the situation, the timing, the book of business,
Right,
the supply and demand of the number of slots. And then you paused and in our work together, you then moved into the third step, which was like decide. I'm going to decide I'm going to go for this. And then you
right.
implemented it. You had conversations with top leadership,
Very direct.
very direct. I love that because how
Yeah,
many times, right, we beat around the bush or we hope that people will like give us what we want. But if we
right,
don't speak up for what we need, it either leaves you being resentful and eventually quitting or actually setting yourself up for long-term success where the firm wins. They obviously love you. They want you.
right,
They've like been telling you since you've been a staff one that you're on track.
right,
And then now we're in that fifth step of evaluate.
right.
Now we're just wondering, okay, what's going well in this process? What's not going well? How can I continue to iterate? And so as you're coming to, you're as the time we're recording, you're a few weeks out from your maternity leave. How do you feel like that whole process has gone? Do you feel like you've positioned yourself the way that you would have hoped?
Yeah, I definitely do. And it was like very aligned with um my personality and like I did it in a way that like challenged me, but also was like true to who I was. So when I talk about like the direct conversations that I had, like, you helped me through this a lot, is like, I was never one to say, do this or else, right? Like I wasn't one for like ultimatums or like going out and finding another job and throwing that in everybody's face. It wasn't like that was not how I wanted to go about it. But I knew I needed to be more direct and be very clear about what my expectations were, what value I thought I brought to the table, and the alternatives, if that wasn't going to work out, right? Because, and that felt really empowering because I had not done it in that way before. I had just like put my head down and been like, okay, I understand. Okay, I understand. And then I got to the point where I said, no, no, like now's my like this is it now, right? And in a very respectful, non-threatening way that you helped me do that like was really aligned to like my personality and how I like to approach these situations. And then in general, I feel like to answer your question about how I'm feeling about how it's all going, like I feel very at peace with the decision. And I never expected to feel like the minute I had these conversations, I felt like this massive weight lifted off my shoulders, which in and of itself told me like, okay, this is the right decision for you. And it helps me going into maternity leave because I am not stressed. I'm not stressed. I mean, I have my day-to-day project stress, but I'm not stressed about my career because I know that I've positioned myself in a way strategically that makes sense for me and makes sense for the firm. And like things just have to fall in line. And I'm not going out and thinking, oh my God, do I have enough, revenue against me to like try to make partner of the year I get back? Like I don't have that stress because when I get back, I fully expect that I'll be promoted to managing director, and then we just move on from there with these new strategies I've employed that we'll talk about later. But like I feel very relieved, if that
Amazing.
answers your question.
Yes, 1,000%. I mean, even the directness I want to highlight because so many of us think direct is like kicking the door down and giving an ultimatum. We
Right.
talk about boundaries, and everyone thinks it's like an idle threat, an ultimatum, like do this or I'm gone. And that is a lose-lose. It's a
Totally.
lose for you, it's a lose for them versus like, hey, we're a team. Like, you want me, I want this to work. Like, how do we make that happen? And I just want
Yeah.
to highlight that because I think a lot of us think like direct means like, be an asshole. And I don't think we have to be, right? We can just say what we need. Like, listen to, like, rewind 5 minutes and just listen to what Lauren said again, because that's a masterclass in showing up direct, confident, and in control. So
Right.
I'll leave that there, but I just loved that. So good. All right. So tell me, this was like, I love this was such a good example of like what you've experienced in the process. What do you feel like your successes have been?
So, it's funny. I've definitely found a lot of my successes are coming through like micro moments, if you will. So, and mindset. And so around those micro moments. And so if I think about like seemingly like small things, like, 15 minutes of a workout in the morning, That if you would have asked me 5 years ago, 6 years ago, if that was like a workout, I would have been like, no. But now I'm like, okay, that was 15 minutes that I did for myself. And maybe my son's watching, but that also brings me joy because he's, learning from that experience. But it's 15 minutes that I got to myself, even if the rest of my day is back to back with meetings, curveballs thrown at us, you know, I come home, I like, play with my son, put him to bed, and then I get back on the computer sometimes, like depending on what's going on. But I had those 15 minutes. And so it is a completely different day when I have those 15 minutes. And the mindset I have around those 15 minutes and recognizing that as a small, like as a win versus like, ugh, I only got 15 minutes, which would have been my reaction before we worked together. Um, I think the other thing that, a few other wins, like, and this isn't really micro, but I took two sort of vacation, not sort of, I took two vacations in our time together.
What?
And they were times where it was very, very, very busy. We were working on a proposal, we were working on, major decks for our client that are going up to the C-suite. And at first I felt guilty about not calling in to certain calls. And then we talked and I was very much more quickly able to let go of that guilt. And it's a process and it will take time. And I recognize it's like not overnight, but the what I realized is like the value I would have been adding versus the detriment to my personal well-being and life of doing that was completely was completely off balance. It's like I'm going to
Mm.
get so much more out of not joining this call than they're going to get out of me joining this call and only being half in because I'm on vacation. And oh, by the way, like then I'm stressed the whole rest of the vacation. So these like this ability to sort of like let go of the guilt, especially when you have a team in place who's like fully capable and like there is no need to do those things. And like the benefit to me was so much greater. Um, I'm trying to think of what else. I think also just like recognizing that, in some cases, right, like the hours are going to be necessary, but how do you put certain boundaries around them so that it works for you? So if I really want to not work on the weekend, okay, well, like just acknowledging and accepting that that might mean some more hours during certain surge periods, like during the week, and just like doing the math and be like, this is the reality, and like taking control of it rather than being like, it's just happening to me and being like, this is what it's going to take. I go into it knowing that that's the case. And I also know that it's probably temporary. And if it's not, that's a separate problem. But like it's temporary to a degree. Um, yeah, what else did I learn that I'm forgetting that?
Oh,
Um,
this is also good. And I think I always like to kind of say again what you just said, which is like you were able to take a vacation with less guilt,
yeah,
right? Some of us expect zero guilt. It's a process. If we're people pleasers, if we're used to like always being available, it's hard to detach. But like what we can see is Lauren didn't just go on one vacation, she went on multiple. She's about to go out for a long leave. And conversations that we had come up of like, how do I like I know that when I leave, more is going to go onto my colleagues' shoulders, but also finding peace with that of like, this is your turn where you held it for other people.
right, right.
Just so powerful. I mean, I think one thing that I also noticed for you, so yes, the gym, getting up earlier in the morning, but I would love to highlight this because you said it briefly, is the mindset.
Hmm.
Really easy when you work a lot of hours with, demanding clients and something always on fire, what it feels like, to be positive. And I actually, when I speak to my clients, we don't talk about being positive. We just talk about shifting the negative, right? Can we be less negative, less pessimistic, less? And what that eventually does is like, if you're watching this on the video, Lauren kind of made this gesture of like, kind of like a thumbs down versus the thumbs up earlier in the session. Because if we all have a baseline, which is like a horizontal line, we don't want thoughts. We don't want a mindset that's below. We don't want a negative mindset, right? That's why they call it negative. We want positive. We want to be in the green, in the plus. So tell me about your mindset in all of this and how you think that's contributed to these last few months together.
Yeah, so I think it's definitely a work in progress, like you said. I think there's 15 years of negativity to like rewire, right? There's like thought patterns that just are like automatic and they're built in like neural pathways at this point. And
Mhm.
so it's definitely a work in progress, but what I've really been working on with you is like major fire drill, big deck due tomorrow out of nowhere, okay? Or like change in direction on said deck versus like hours that we've already put into something. And oh, by the way, it's due at 8 a.m. I used to be like really angry and resentful about that. Now I go into it like a much more like, okay, neutral, like this is the situation that we are in right now. It's consulting, it's never forever. Um, and what can I do to like, and how can I leverage my team to get there? And, oh, by the way, like I don't have to have all the answers and I don't need to be the only one getting it done, which is like another like sort of growth mindset type of thinking that it will like, versus like I have to have all the answers, I have to figure out how to get this done, et cetera. Like, so the I think this our work together has really helped me like pause and be like, okay, like do not let yourself start spiraling about how terrible this is and how awful it is to work on this client or how, this is the 10th change in direction, and that might be the case. But I think just taking a deep breath and like, not trying not to be that negative. And I think, look, I think it's definitely helped to have like sort of a light at the end of the tunnel to say, okay, I just need to get through the next X number of weeks and it will all be fine. And even if I didn't have that, I think that I'd be able to have that mindset because I know this is not forever. And so it's a matter of like showing up in a way, like showing up in a negative way is like not going to help my team perform. Like recognizing like the situation, if I like respond with these thoughts, like that's not going to get the outcome that I want, both for myself or for my team. And so, hopefully that answers your question. I feel like I'm rambling a little bit.
No, this is good. I mean, actually, I want to bring out your team because that's something that we've talked about a little bit.
Yeah,
And with mindset, because there are some thoughts of like, I think anyone it's like if you work for someone, or sorry, if you have people that work for you, it's tough. If you do it all yourself, it's also tough because you have nobody to give it to.
right.
So
Different kinds of hard.
different kinds of hard. And I just want to highlight one of the things that you really did is thinking about challenges with your team as like us versus the problem, where initially it was very much like me versus them, they're doing this wrong. And then it's like, as you built the mindset, I can see such a shift of like, all right, I see this isn't working when I just drop a bomb on you guys. And I can also see it's like, I'm not getting the work product I need. So I could just see that that shift is very widespread of how it's affecting your team. I'm sure even how you mentioned how it shows up at home, like all the ways of just like
Hmm.
really working on your mindset and
Yeah,
finding more peace in your life.
yeah, for sure.
I love it. Why has coaching been such a good decision for you at this point in your life?
Um, so I think, like I mentioned, right, like doing it on my own wasn't really like nothing was changing. And I think working with you, who, you know, has had like experience like in our sh in like in our shoes as like client serving professionals and having done the work yourself, I think it has been instrumental in changing my mindset, changing how I get to sort of like clarity. Um, and there's a really pivotal like there are many pivotal moments in your life, whether you have kids, you don't have kids, like you know, y- there's a breaking point, if you will. And I think getting over the other side in a way that feels really aligned with who you are is just like an incredible gift. And so, I feel like I'm going into this like next stage of my life, like so much better equipped as a mom, as a wife, as a professional, as a person, to set myself up for continued realignment of my priorities and what works for me in a way that really works for me. It isn't just about like the shoulds. and trying to not allow the shoulds to like infiltrate. And I think that's really as a result of like the work that we've done together. And I think it'll help me even like as I'm on maternity leave. It's a tough time. And just giving myself more grace and taking the small wins, um, will really like that mindset around that is like so helpful in so many aspects of life. And I think, with the dynamic nature for me personally of being a mom, a working mom, like a wife, like trying to like have my own moments, right, and own life as well. In addition to that, I think this work has been just like very well timed because without that, I think I could have totally lost myself and been just like further spiraling down this path of like unhappiness and like dissatisfaction.
Hmm. I love that. Do you feel more in control now than you did even 6 months ago?
Yeah, I do. I think it's a work in progress for sure. And I think some of that is the nature of, as we've talked about, like the types of clients that I work on, the types of projects I find myself on. But even where it's like smaller, like day-to-day moments of feeling in control, but I also overall feel more in control because a lot of the like, decisions I've made, the mindset shifts that I've been trying to implement, I definitely feel like there's more control. I think I'm a work in progress. But I definitely feel like I'm on the right path there, and I definitely feel more in control than I did when I started. I felt completely out of control when I started.
A
So
common feeling. So
yeah,
definitely a common experience that is, yeah. If you're
yeah.
feeling that way, it's time then to give me a call. But all right. So tell me what's next for you. There's a big year coming. I'm hearing number two is on the way. A promotion is not far
We
behind.
hope so.
Yeah.
I mean, I think you've covered it. I am hopeful for um a really like fulfilling maternity leave with my new baby and our son and my husband and the rest of our family. Um, and then we go back to work hopefully as a promoted MD, and then sort of see where it goes from there. I think I feel more empowered and more confident in whether it's like taking on more roles at the firm with my new title or seeing what else is out there. Like I feel a lot more confident that um I'll find whatever the right fit is for me and my like professional journey, and whether that means adjusting certain expectations of myself, adjusting certain expectations about work, for the time period that I'm in, and knowing that all of that is malleable and can be formed differently over time for different needs, um, for myself and for my family is just really empowering.
I love that. What's like the word that you're bringing with you into this next like chapter?
That's a good question. Um, I'm torn between like control and peace.
Yeah. And imagine you can hold both,
Yeah, yeah,
right? Like with control feels a sense of peace. It's
right.
like, if we're both feet on the ground, we feel much more at peace than like one foot balancing on one foot, right? So
Yeah,
when
right.
you're in control of your situation, the peace comes. So maybe it's
Yeah,
one than the other, or you even get to think about, well, when I'm at peace, I'm more in control. So it could be one
right,
chicken
right.
before the egg. I love it. All
Yeah.
right. Well, last question for you. What would be a piece of wisdom or advice you'd like to share for anyone who's considering working with me?
Yeah, so I'd say do it. If you're thinking about it, it probably means it's a good idea. No, in all seriousness, like you've been so amazing, like holding space for me. And I think, if you're somebody who has been having like a lot of negative thoughts and feeling out of control, um, and like you don't know what's next for you or how to change what's going on. You've got these like well-worn pathways. Lauren is like so amazing to work with. She helps very in a very customized but also methodical way, like of helping you understand the thought patterns, shift them, like, open door to talk through in a very open and honest way. And like I said, very customized. I mean, you've seen a lot, and I could tell how, you're such a like the listening and the, open book. It's like really, really helpful to talk to somebody who understands it, but can call, call you on the things that are like holding you back. Um, but also recognize when like certain things like are what they are, and then like help you work through what does that mean for you. And I think as long as you're somebody who is like really wants to change and is like open mindset about change and even if you don't, I think Lauren's great to work with because you might feel like none of this is ever going to change, but like it will if you work with Lauren.
I
So
love.
yeah, hopefully that helps.
Yeah. What I almost hear, it's like if you want everything to change, it can work in that regard. And in some ways, if you want nothing to change, but you just want your mindset, like you want to love your life more, that's also a
Right, exactly. Exactly. More
amazing.
fulfilling. So
Yeah. Thank you so much, Lauren, for
thank you.
showcasing your story. It's my honor and always pleasure. I know nothing but successes in your future
Thank
in
you.
every endeavor. And so I'm celebrating you. Everybody send Lauren, if you're listening to this now in the future, she might have already had her baby by the point when you listen to this, but sending so much love in your journey and on the road ahead.
Thank you so much. Same to you, Lauren. Really appreciate all of our work together.